Hello, and today I'm gonna be reviewing a game called Sifu. If you don't know what this game is about, it's basically is a run-based action beat 'em up game played from a third-person perspective. And its combat is inspired by a martial arts called Pak-mei. And I don't know much about Pak-mei. All I know, it looks very cool and has a lot of history. So let's see if Sifu does justice to Pak-mei martial arts. Now, first of all, I have to talk about performance and graphics. Funny enough, on the highest settings, the performance on my 3060 RTX wasn't the greatest. There was some like stuttering and stuff, but that wasn't a problem because the game seems to when you lower the settings, don't really lose that really sharp look, and the performance increases drastically, so that wasn't a problem. And talking about graphics and looks of the game is beautiful. And I think, weirdly enough, there's a lot of, open world games being made with like Ghost of Tsushima that I've seen, where you have those fields and the visuals are stunning. I think in this game, the beauty is in the details and how much you can interact with some. For example, there is a part where there is probably, apologies if I'm mistaken, but there is some kind of drug dealer cartel, and they have a lot of money on the tables, and you can go over these tables and you actually push off the money from away from the table on the ground, which I think is a really cool attention to detail and shows how, and it makes the whole world feel very interactive. So even though it's very straightforward from where you need to progress, the world feels very alive. Now, moving on to the combat. The combat feels great. There's a lot of combos that you can do, and even though I am one of those people that's just gonna press random buttons until they probably find that one combo that they like and they just spam that one combo. I think a lot of people would appreciate the fact how many combos there are, and it has 150 unique attacks that you can use. Now, in my opinion, not every single one is useful, but that's just up to the player probably to decide which one is good and which is not. And I feel like the combat feels very fluid. I think that's a big importance, especially when you draw inspiration from any martial arts. I think especially in movies, those fight scenes are very cool, and in this game every fight feels like that. In my opinion, for me personally, maybe some attacks are even too fast, like I cannot react, but and because of that, it's very smooth, very cool, and makes the game, even if it was simple, very enjoyable. But the combat, I don't think it's that simple, because yes, there is a block and a parry, but you can dodge as well, and depending on the situation, you either need different inputs for dodging high attacks or low attacks. And I think that adds a lot of depth to this game, which is very enjoyable to master and play. Now I'm gonna talk about one of the main draws and mechanics of the game that make it unique, but it has, in my opinion, positives and negatives. First of all, let's start with the positives. Okay, actually, I'm gonna first explain the mechanic. It is a death mechanic. Basically, every time you die, you actually come back, but you just age, and after you age to a certain age, you just, in my understanding, just die of old age and cannot no longer respawn. Now, if you don't kill any stronger enemies, this death counter actually stacks, and that's why you don't want to die in the same place or to the same enemies multiple times, because it's very punishing. And the main thing is that every time you die, if you have enough experience, you can actually unlock new abilities or new passives that let you improve your character. Now, most attacks do improve your character just by giving them an ability that just makes you stronger, like gives you a sweep that you can use as a special bit. And some abilities that you get, which I like, are the ones that you have to actually change your playstyle a bit to actually incorporate them into your kit. Um, Now, to the minuses. First of all, this is my personal opinion, but I think, especially on boss fights, I like Dark Souls type boss difficulty, where you try the fight, and after like a certain amount of attempts, you beat it. Whereas in Sifu, because of the death counter, most of the time you're gonna come into the level, and if you're start off at your youngest age, you actually probably gonna beat the whole part, but the problem will be that you will need to replay it, because you would straight away probably die of old age in the next level. So what would happen, you beat the boss, but because of how many times you died to it, you need to replay the whole level to try again. And I don't find difficult boss fights fun like that, because I just want to beat them once, but like try as many times as I need, not beat the whole level, probably because I suck, be at like 60, 70 years old and be like, yeah, this is not enough, I need to replay the whole level that I already beat, just better, so that I could properly be able to continue. So yeah, but you know, I think this is like one of those games that are a bit of a different genre that I like, so maybe for a lot of you this is a plus and not a negative, and I completely understand, but you know, it's my opinion. Now let's move on to the bosses. I think the boss fights, in my opinion, maybe I understand that this is a high bar for me personally to compare them to, but comparing them to Metal Gear Rising Revengeance bosses, I don't know why, but something is missing. Maybe there is not enough character development. Maybe that's important, even though I don't think so, to make the character more interesting that you're fighting. But it just felt a bit bland fighting all of these bosses. They are fun, but the problem was, unless they have like a weapon, the moment they have just hands, it kind of feels like you're just fighting a normal enemy that's just a lot stronger. But you know, I still had fun beating them, but I think if you like put them in the, you know, boss fight tier list, in my tier list they wouldn't be that high. They still fun. I think what I in conclusion want to say with boss fight is, I think in my opinion they don't stand out like comparing them to other really fun bosses, but I don't think they're bad. They're just solid, but I think I would even say they're not a highlight of this game. I think the combat is the highlight of this game, and the boss fights are kind of like a cherry on top. And now let's move on to the story. And all I can talk about the story is very simple. Unlike some games that I'm gonna review in the future, it's more of a story that you just it pushes the narrative along, so it would give you a reason why the game exists, you know, and why these bosses exist. And it just basically, you have a dad, the evil guys team kill him, you go on revenge, and your revenge plan is to avenge your father's death, and by avenging you end them all. And there is a different ending, the true ending, I think, the one that you actually spare the enemies, and I think that ending, it's all right. At least it makes it a little bit more interesting. But I think you have to do a second run, because on my first run I was unable to do that, or maybe I was missing something because I didn't try. So I'm not gonna put this as a minus as a plus. I'm just gonna say that the story is all right. It just gives you a reason why this game exists, and this game is great. So let's go to my final review of the game. And I think usually I talk a lot, but in the end it just ends with how I feel. And I think I'm gonna give this game an 8 out of 10. I think it's a fun game. I think it does justice to Pac-Man martial arts. I think it's one of those games that I kind of usually gonna come back to this kind of game just for the gameplay. And because I gave it an 8 out of 10, it still makes it a good game, but I don't think it's, for me personally, an amazing game. So yeah, if you have different thoughts, please share them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.